You're all welcome to keep talking. In fact, I'd prefer that because then I know that YouTube is working. Otherwise, I'm just going to see my face and it's going to be confusing.
Well, you can see your face. We will see our face. And how do you like the weather?
Oh, it's lovely. That's why my hair is down today. Doing great things to my hair.
Well, I'm grateful that the heat is here, but I hate the humidity.
Absolutely. The
So-
library closed today in the building because there was, excuse me,
Sure.
there's no air conditioning. It's too hot in the building.
Well, today was the first day I put the air conditioning on
Oh,
because of the humidity.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe that my heat went off on June the 3rd.
we were complaining 2 weeks ago. We need heat.
Jeez. Talk
I think the
about,
library closed 2 weeks ago for being too cold.
well, I can't stand the cold.
Neither can
When
we.
people-
Oh,
No,
hey,
no.
Natasha, I didn't realize
Don't give me the cold. No colds for me.
Can't stand
I'm
the cold.
cold all the time.
Natasha, I've made you a co-host.
Thank you. What do you want me to handle tonight?
Q&A
Sure.
and just monitor
Emails?
emails and we'll chat if anything comes up. I'll
Okay.
handle the roll call and any vote that comes up.
Okay.
And I'll assist John. John's here. I'll make him co-host now. And I'll
Hello,
make
everyone.
host.
Have you started letting people in? No, not yet. Okay.
Nope. I accidentally made Cynthia Felix co-host. Cynthia, you're not co-host.
Thank you.
Mike and I have that privilege.
Move around as I'm doing this. So see, I was about to make you co-host again. Stop moving around on me.
Whack-a-mole.
That's right. Okay, so Cesar's a co-host now.
Yeah.
Let's give John a co-host. And with your permission, I will start letting the attendees in.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're starting.
Has it been mentioned what the time frame of the testimony people are giving, public testimony?
Well, so we have to see, I assume we have to see how many people show up before
Okay.
we set any rules that need to be set for this evening beyond what our normal stuff is. Orson, give me 1 second. Orson needs me for a moment. Be right back.
I'll be right back.
So Cesar, my count is 8, which is enough to start a public hearing, but it's your call if you want to yet, or let other folks show up.
Why don't we give folks another maybe 2 minutes and then
All right.
start it?
And then when you're ready to start, I just need to call roll. I'm doing that tonight.
Jeremy, your hair is very Beethoven.
Thank you. You should see what it would look like if it was really humid.
How are the kids, Jeremy?
They were very comfortable sitting in their air-conditioned home today while I was at work.
Lucky they were.
Natasha and I got to bake, but they got to lounge around.
Yeah, it was wonderful baking at the office today.
You guys have AC?
Nope, the AC is central.
We were smart enough to get the portable ACs. They're okay. They're not great. It makes it livable, not cool.
Yeah, because
The library doesn't have those, so they closed.
it doesn't cool the entire office, just like if it's individually like right on you, but that also generates a lot of heat too. So part of the day I was working with the lights off because it was that hot in the office. I think it was like what 80 something degrees or something, Jeremy. You checked
Yeah,
it?
by the end of the day, we got it down to 79 in the office.
Oh,
Yeah.
Have you
boy.
guys have you guys changed the filters on the portable ACs?
I'm sorry, on what?
Did you change the filters on the portable AC?
No, not yet. I don't know.
These are, we just got these last year, so they're not well used yet.
Thought I'd try.
So members of the public, we're just allowing people a few more minutes to show up and then we will be starting.
Hi, this is Zach's here. I'm on my phone and I'm listening.
We haven't started, Zach.
Yep, just checking in, saying hi.
Thank you.
Okay, so far 6 attendees. And
Okay, why don't we get started? Let's, so, hi, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, go ahead, call the roll. Yep.
All right, folks. I'm going to call roll, so I'm going to mute everybody but myself. Board members, when I call your name, please unmute yourself, acknowledge, and then mute yourself again. So we're going to start calling roll. And I just want to make sure none of our board members are listed as attendees. Doesn't look like it. So we'll start with Sandra Alfonso. Ramon Acevedo. Grisel Amador. Genesis Aquino. Alexa Aviles. Nicholas Azadian.
Present.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Stacy Boyd. Gladys Bruno.
Sorry, this is Stacy. I'm here.
Thank you. Got you. Gladys Bruno. Jalixa Camposano. Joseph Canale. Justin Collins. John DeLuper. Beatrice DeSapio. David Estrada. Cynthia Felix.
Present. Hello.
Thank you.
Thank
John Fontillis.
I'm here.
Thank you. Kin Fung. John Garcia. Anthony Giglio. Cynthia Gonzalez. Hector Gonzalez. Hector, I can see that you're here, but I know you have that audio problem. Kenny Guan.
I'm here.
Thank you. Nicole Huang.
Yeah.
Thank you. Zachary Jacy.
Here.
Thank you. John Johnston. Beverly Kleinman. Wyco.
Sorry, John is here. I'm sorry.
Thank you, John. Wyco. Barbara Lee. Christina Lem. Jimmy Lee. Paul Mack. Antoinette Martinez. Aurelis Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Dan Murphy. Gloria Rodriguez Navoa. Julio Pena.
Here.
Thank you. Rovika Rajkishan. Karen Rolnick. Patricia Ruiz.
I'm here.
Thank you. Sam Sierra. Brian Slater. Victor Swinton. Cindy Vandenbosch. Catherine Walsh. Fred Wolf. Cesar Zuniga.
Present.
Thank you. I see Kin Fung. I'm going to call you again because I see your name on the list. Kin Fung.
Yes, I'm
Thank
here.
you.
Got me?
Got you.
Got me?
Got you.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Cesar, my count. Cynthia Gonzalez. I see Cynthia waving. Cesar, I have my count is 15, which is more than enough for a quorum.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I'm Cesar and I'm the chair of Community Board 7. And I'm just going to turn it right over to John. Thanks, everyone, for coming. And we're looking forward to hearing your testimony. John?
Good evening, everybody. John Fontillis, Chair of Land Use Committee at Community Board 7. Tonight on the docket, we have a public hearing to review a Board of Standards and Appeals submission to the board by the Brooklyn Rise Charter School. I see we have Carrie Finnegan, who's the head of school, here with us. I believe, Carrie, you'll make a short statement, I believe. But we also have Richard Lobel, your land use counsel, who I assume will be doing most of the presentation tonight. As everybody may or may not know, the Brooklyn Rise Charter School is, well, actually, you know what, why don't I let you all both handle that before I get something completely wrong and then derail this whole public hearing. So anyway, so without further ado, Carrie, why don't you take it away?
Okay, great. Thank you so much, John. And thank you to everyone for having us to talk today about our application to the BSA. So I'll start just introducing myself, Carrie Finnegan, founder and head of school of Brooklyn Rise. I may have met some of you along the way when we were working on getting chartered a few years ago now. So I used to work at PS24 as an instructional coach there. It was through my work at PS24 that I learned more about kind of the large and overcrowded elementary schools and the needs for more elementary school seats here in Sunset Park. which then inspired me to apply to the state for a charter to open a public charter school here in Sunset. Not to at all think that that would solve the need for all the seats, but instead more as a way to offer a small school option to families who are interested in that. So we were chartered in 2018 by the New York State Education Department, actually a week after my son was born. So it's really easy to remember when that happened. We then opened in September 2019 with kindergarten through first grade. We add a grade each year. For us, that means 2 classes of 26 students, so 52 students each year. So this year we're kindergarten through second grade. Next year will be kindergarten through third grade. As a public charter school, we are open enrollment, but our lottery does give preference to students who are siblings of current students, students who live in District 15, students whose home language is other than English, and students who qualify for the free and reduced price lunch program. And so with that, our school was really designed to serve multilingual learners and students with diverse learning needs. So 85% of our students currently qualify for free and reduced price lunch. 44% are identified as multilingual learners. 70% have a home language other than English. 25% of our students are students with IEPs. And so our model is really based around, like I said, smaller class sizes, 2 teachers in every classroom, so a 13-to-1 student to teacher ratio. And most of the day our kiddos spend in small group learning. So we really try to provide kind of targeted supports, opportunities for students to have a lot of practice and a lot of growth, both academically and social emotionally. We are, for those of you that are familiar, we are currently located in a temporary location, 10,000 square feet above a Rite Aid on 53rd and 5th Avenue. We're actually right below Grisel's Senior Center. And so she's a great neighbor of ours. And we love our space, but it's very much a temporary incubation space. So year 1, we only had, limited classes. We actually had room to use for a cafeteria and rooms to use as breakout spaces for yoga and dance for our kiddos. This year with COVID, obviously all bets were off and things were much tighter. We couldn't really use any of those spaces other than for kiddos and learning when we were open. Next year, we're going to be kindergarten through third grade, and we're going to be using all of our spaces other than the room I'm sitting in, which is our STEAM classroom. So kiddos will come here for STEAM, but we don't have a cafeteria. We obviously don't have a gym. Our kiddos walk to Rainbow Playground for recess. So this was all along meant to be a temporary space for us as we searched for our forever home for our school. That search, as many of you are familiar with spaces, school space, and why this has always been a challenge for Sunset Park, is very difficult to find an as of right space that has enough square footage for a school to grow. We are chartered to be K-5, but we hope to eventually grow to be K-8 to serve a total of 468 students. So we were really looking for a space somewhere between 40 and 50,000 square feet. But not only do you need to find a space that is ideally as of right and has the square footage you need, you also need to find a developer who's willing to build the school for you. We are a public school. We don't have money to build a school for ourselves. So this space, our current temporary space, Delvis Valdez built for us. He's our landlord. And basically, there is some upside to developers because we pay rent. Obviously, for a forever home, we're a long-term tenant, so we can sign a lease 30 to 35 years, which is great stability for a building owner. But it isn't that easy to find space and a developer that is willing to kind of put in that upfront development cost of kind of building the school out for you, even though long-term you will be paying them rent for the space. So with all that said, after looking at 24 different options and actually really trying for an as of right space and really trying to stay focused and finding a school space in the Sunset Park community, we did finally find 222 44th Street. It is currently 40,000 square feet. We are hoping to, part of our presentation to the BSA is to include an extra 5,000 feet for a 5th floor. That space is really important because that's the top floor would be where our recess area is for our kiddos. It's also going to be where we have a gym, and gym for K5, you don't need much, but since we are hoping to be K8, one of the things that you'll see in our application is really the desire to have a larger size gym for our kiddos that would be on that 5th floor. And so the building 222 44th Street is really a great size for an elementary school. Essentially, it takes what we have now, 10,000 square feet, and it gives you 4 floor plates of that, plus the 5th floor that we're petitioning for additionally. And so we'll be able to have large class sizes. Well, our class sizes are still 26 students in every classroom, but the square footage of the classes will be large. So kiddos have lots of space for that small group learning and cooperative and collaborative learning that we do a lot of here. We'll have spaces for our science program. We want to add more arts and music enrichment options for our students. So the proposal and the team that's here today to talk more about the building specifics, they can get more into that. But really, we believe this is such a beautiful option for our forever home. Our families are really excited for us to get into a space that can accommodate us and help our kiddos continue to learn and grow with Brooklyn Rise. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that arise tonight that are school related, but I know that the rest of the team here is way more equipped to talk about our BSA application and any architectural questions that you have about that. So I will pass the mic on to, I think, Richard.
Sure. Thank you, Carrie. And thank you for that introduction. Amanda Iannotti, who's from my office, is going to be sharing her screen. And so what we're going to do, Amanda and I will just give a little discussion with regards to why we're here regarding the nature of the BSA application. And then Stephen Grasso, who's the project architect, can walk through some of the floor plans. And then, as Carrie said, we're all happy to answer any questions. So once again, we're here with a Board of Standards and Appeals variance application. Next slide. So what do we note about an application like this? So this application is a variance. It's brought under section 7221 of the zoning resolution. And for schools and religious institutions, basically the law provides a presumption that the school, the religious institution, will have a beneficial effect on the surrounding area. And so the findings that you have to make for a variance are pretty limited. So what is exactly are the waivers we're seeking here? So you see the site in front of you, 222 44th Street, an existing 4-story, approximately 40,000 square foot vacant building. The variance application here would allow for the enlargement of that existing building, would allow for an additional partial 5th story for a total of about 48,000 square feet. And so the waivers requested are basically 3 waivers. The first is a use waiver because we're in an M district. And despite the fact that if we were 400 feet from a residential district, there's a shorter, quicker process to get this relief. We're about 490 feet near an R6B, so we're requested to come to the BSA for a variance. So it's to allow the use there. And then also there's 2 other waivers, the bulk waivers, the physical waivers, one of them being the rear yard. We're asking for a 10-foot waiver so we can match the existing rear yard. It's already built to 10 feet. And the second is street wall height, setback, and sky exposure. And we're going to show you on a very illustrative slide exactly where those waivers come into play. Next slide. So we're just going to give you a little bit of background on the site. People are probably familiar with 44th Street. What's interesting to note, and you can see this from the land use map here, is that we back onto a lot of single and 2-family residential buildings. And so if you think about it, in this M district, this site could be used for an existing 40,000 square foot manufacturing space. While that would be a legal conforming use, one where the applicant could go to the Department of Buildings and use that, it's not the best thing for residential uses to the rear. You would have the environmental air quality concerns that would arise from every use that an M1 would be able to do. So having a school here, we feel, particularly given the fact that we're really not enlarging the existing building by all that much, would be kind of a beneficial thing for the surrounding area, in addition to allowing for this fantastic program that Carrie's discussed. Next slide. So these are some pictures of the site, back when it was snowing and it wasn't 94 degrees out. But you can see the building itself. It's roughly 4 stories. It's pretty straight manufacturing type building. And so with that, this is basically an application for Brooklyn Rise. As Carrie mentioned, a publicly chartered K-5 elementary school, which in 2023 intends to renew its charter for kindergarten through 8. currently serving 157 students, and this would be growing by approximately 52 students in one grade per year. Next slide. So one of the reasons why it's important for Brooklyn Rise to have this location, because BSA looks and they say, okay, you're a school or an educational institution, you're not for profit. So what are the findings that you're required to make? The first is going to be your program needs. So a school is allowed to say, we've got these unique needs as an institution, and in the absence of this variance, we won't be able to satisfy those needs, and we're going to, have difficulties in achieving our program. So here you've got an existing school located on the second floor of 475 to 53rd Street. As Carrie said, it is not an ideal situation. There's no opportunity to expand. It doesn't have all the hallmarks of what you would find if you went to a typical school: a cafeteria, a library, a gym, art and science labs, all things that we want to be able to give our students, but are unable to do so in the existing physical plants. So you can see how the program needs of the school are directing the variance that's requested here. Next slide. So the location of this school, where it is in relative proximity to the existing school, is important. The existing 4-story school, as we said, would be expanded, and the programmatic needs would be accommodated with 18 classrooms, 10 specialized rooms, including library, art, and music and dance, a cafeteria, a kindergarten play area, and importantly, in addition to additional accessory space, a gym, which the BSA has found to be, and as everyone would admit, is an important part of a school functioning. It allows kids to engage in physical activity, to stay in shape, and it's important to have recreation for students, which here would be within the building, and it's a huge amenity for the school. Next slide. This is my favorite slide, actually, because when we're at BSA for variances, Amanda and I are typically arguing for cases in where there are upwards of 10, 12, 15 waivers that are required. Here, the bulk waivers that are required are basically 2: rear yard, which is going to allow for the gym floor plate on the 5th floor, and height and setback, which will also permit this expansion in the front. Of this entire variance application, and it's practically a shame to have to come to the community board and BSA and spend all this time and energy, but you see the green and yellow there. That's really what we're asking for from the community board and from the BSA. The green area is the street wall setback. So it's not even that the building is too tall. We're within permitted height maximums. It's just that area in the front where we would otherwise need to set back. It is, you can see it on both pictures. It is a very small area, and the area of noncompliance in the rear is that yellow portion. This building, importantly, the square footage, the bulk of this building is, if anything, what the school's asking for is underbuilt. On a 14,000 plus square foot lot, you could actually get a mixed use manufacturing and community facility building of 67,000 square feet. And that would be as of right. They'd be able to go in and be able to claim that square footage. This building with the enlargement would be 47,000 square feet, which is a full 20,000 square feet less than would be required as of right. So this is really just a beautifully conceived variance application where the school is taking available square footage and merely asking to reallocate it on the lot. And that's why, everyone on the team is really passionate about this application and hopeful that we'll be able to achieve a successful outcome. Next slide. So with that, I know that Stephen Grasso is on the phone. Stephen, if you could run through some of the floor plans and architectural decisions and how the waivers affect those spaces. If you want to do that, I'm sure that after that, the team would be happy to answer any questions.
Sure. My name is Stephen Grasso. I'm principal of Partners for Architecture. We are the architects for the project of this 4-story existing manufacturing facility. And actually, Irina or Sanu in my office is going to walk you through the floor plans just to give you a quick idea of the spaces on each floor and what this building entails.
Hi, everyone. This is Irina. Do I have the control of the mouse? Can you see my mouse now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to walk you through each floor plan. The first one is the cellar, where we're going to have the mechanical, electrical room, storage, but also some conference room and offices. But the first, I would like to start better with the first floor. So the new vestibule entrance in the building would be here on the left side. There is going to be a security room right on the right side of the vestibule, and then a nice large lobby. Also a warming kitchen and all the restrooms and elevator that you will see will have on each floor in pretty much the same location. On each floor of the building, you will see we have 2 homerooms for each grade. So, for example, for this first floor, we have the kindergarten right here in the back, furthest point from the entry, with a two double door separated from the main lobby. So the kindergarten has direct access to the playground, which is, we think, very nice for them to play and to get access directly from the classroom. And then in the front is going to be the first grade. We also have the administrative office here right next to the lobby. Moving up on the second floor, we have the cafeteria, much needed cafeteria, it's a nice space with a serving area. We also have the second graders, third graders, 2 classrooms for each grade, a small office, and moving up, and the art room. So on each floor, you will see we have the specialty classrooms that are missing in the current location. So in this floor, on the second floor, we have the art room and the special ed in project 1. Moving to the third floor, we have again 2 home rooms for each grade, pretty much the same layout as the lower one, plus the music and dance room and faculty lounge. And moving up. So as you see on each floor, we try to kind of separate on the right side, we always have the home rooms, and on the left side, closer to the main stair and the elevator, we have the specialty rooms and lounges, and they're closer to the circulation. Moving up, on the 4th floor, again the home rooms, special ed, and the science room and library also. So two nice rooms for the science and the library that they do not have currently. And on the so this is the level that ends the existing building. So now going on the 5th floor, this is all the new construction that that we are going to have on top of the existing building. So going up on the main hallway, a stair and elevator. This is all just a gym storage office and the big, nice, full-size middle school gym with a full height. Plus the recess roof on the back of the school that can accommodate, a full classroom for any educational, whatever biology or whatever classes they might need to get outdoor or something this sort. The mechanical roof is towards the front. So you see this nice nice gym. It takes the whole half of the whole fifth floor, which will be really great for the kids for the physical education class and for the recess. On top of this, the roof of this gym, if I move up, has the solar panels. So the full, almost the full roof of this gym has solar panels. So that's really great for to use this space. Now in this plan, you can actually see the setbacks, the rear setback right here and the front setbacks. So you can see the smaller portion in the front and even smaller in the back that we are requesting variance for. And this is the same slide that Richard had shown before. These are some elevations, exterior elevations showing the addition. So pretty much this is the gym, the full high gym with nice windows, so nice natural light going in, the solar panels above. This would be the side elevation, the left side, with the roof, the kids' roof, recess roof here, and the mechanical roof towards the front. This is the rear elevation, so the gym portion. This is the recess roof for the kids. And then this would be the playground area for the kindergarteners. Nicely tucked away, fenced in. And this is the front elevation. So the gym on the right-hand side with a nice entrance with, of course, school logo and a nice entry. But also the building will blend in nicely, I think, in the whole neighborhood. It's a brick building. It's an old brick building, and enhanced with the new addition. I think it will be a really nice building visually, and very useful also. So I think that's the end of our slide.
Yeah, I think that's it. And you know, I know Carrie is available to answer any questions, and I see that there's some hands up in the chat. So I think we would just hand it back to you, John, and we're happy to be here and happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Richard. What I think we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of questions from board members first, and then if there are any members of the general public to wish to make a statement as part of the public hearing, we'll do that afterward. But for board members, I'm going to hold the question session probably for the next 20 minutes before we move on to the public hearing portion. So if you can get on to the board, raise your hand, use the raise hand function in the participant menu of Zoom. Let me just start off both to Richard and Carrie, mainly because these applications come to us very quickly. And I know you're already in process at the BSA. There is concern about how quickly this has come to the board. And frankly, it seems like we're trying to make a decision under the gun without a lot of pre-warning. Now, just respectfully, I know Carrie, I remember when you were pregnant and you came to the board many times, and I remember that very clearly. So I know you have been working on this for a while, but looking at your report, can you talk a little bit about the struggles you've been having in the different locations? So you had a whole list of locations that you looked at, and why this location, frankly, in an industrial zone, seemed to be right for the school.
Great, thanks, John. Yeah, I myself feel quite under the gun, to be totally honest, because this search has been such a struggle from the very beginning for me. So 3 years ago, when I had the idea of trying to open a small school option, obviously, even as part of your charter application, you have to demonstrate to the state that you've looked for space options. And so initially, you try to find space that you have a little more room to grow into so that you have a longer runway to find, the forever home that might have the square footage that you need long term. But we just really struggled to find that as of right space. We ended up here in this 10,000 square foot space. And basically, as soon as we found this and could take a little bit of a breath, we had to immediately continue our search looking for that forever home. And as I mentioned before, a lot of those sites that we looked at that I thought might be great options, really all across Sunset Park, often either came under two different challenges. One was that a lot of the spaces that developers were proposing they were like 8 floors. So they were like narrow spaces that would go really high, that for an elementary school, just frankly, is not tenable. You want to keep it, as low to the ground as you can. These are little people, like they have, they're walking up the stairs to get to class and to get to gym. So that was one issue we had, was just the types of space that we could find. And then sometimes we found a building that seemed great and would work. But again, the developer wasn't necessarily willing to put in the upfront costs to build out the school for us up front. And so we, honestly didn't want a space that we couldn't occupy as of right. So initially we only looked for spaces that were zoned properly. But once it became clear that those were not an option, we opened it up to looking at spaces that required zone changes. We then found this space, 222 44th Street, and a developer who was interested in building out a school, which was really great because, again, it's not always easy to find. And the space, as I mentioned, just is laid out as is very well because of those 10,000 square foot floor plates and just the floor kind of stacked up. You can really imagine getting to keep your little ones, the kindergarten and first graders, on that first floor, like Irina walked through, and the layout just works really beautifully. And then also allows us the option to expand K through 8, which many of our families here, in our school are really interested in us being K-8 because they love that idea of that continuity, that their kiddos can stay with Brooklyn Rise until they go to high school. And so our desire to be able to offer that K-8 option really made that the 222 44th Street building such a beautiful option for us. And then transparently, the location being west of 3rd Avenue was a little bit of a concern for us. But we were able to talk to a number of individuals that mentioned there's ways that you can, make the crossing, really as safe as possible for kiddos. We also had family meetings with families and we asked for their input. We wanted to know, is this a place that you'd be happy to have our school? And families were just very supportive of the location. And so with that, and with the building developer's willingness to kind of work with an architect that has a lot of experience building out schools here in New York City and was able to come up with such a beautiful layout for us, that really made the building such a beautiful option. And then, just to your point around like the variances and why this place also being able to have that gym, as I mentioned, on the top floor is very unique. It's not always easy to find a building that gives you a gym that can have the right ceiling heights. I know more about gyms than I ever thought I would. And apparently, if you want to play basketball, you need a certain height ceiling. And so because this gym is on the roof, it allows us to have that ceiling height properly so that, again, when we get that middle school expansion, hopefully we'll be able to offer our kiddos kind of that full basketball court and that kind of full physical education experience we want our students to have access to. So might have been a little rambling. Hopefully that was a helpful answer.
Richard, just to put a finish on it, what's the schedule? If you're going right now, you're calendared at BSA, the board, will have to weigh in, and then what's the process going forward?
So the process is that the community board gets 60 days to hear the matter. It's not ULURP, so it's not a timetable. The agency is, of course, anxious to hear back from the community board as far as their opinion. the actual BSA calendaring and hearing doesn't take place until October. So, while we have to notify the community board very quickly after we file, we're not actually going to be in hearings for some time. Having said that, we're happy to be here to engage in this process now, but and it has seemed quick, but the truth is we're just, by law, we need to get you guys notice within a week, and then you've got your 60 days.
Okay, great. Thank you, Richard. All right, so I'm going to move to the board members. I'm going to start with Joan, and then after Joan, Nick, and then Katie Walsh. Let's start with those three first. So Joan?
Always forget to unmute myself, sorry. I'm assuming that the building will be completely handicap accessible?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Outdoor space, is that only on the roof for the children for outdoor space, or is there some, or are you going to build some type of playground in the back of the building?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a playground for the kindergarten, the two kindergarten classes. So there is a playground for them at the ground level.
Okay, could you elaborate a little bit more on the age groups that you're going to, being that you want to go up to 8th grade, 5th grade? What do you propose?
Yeah, so as Irina mentioned, so currently we're just K2 and we add a grade each year. So next year will be K3. The year that we would move into this building that we're hoping to move into as our forever home, at that point will be kindergarten through 4th grade. That's actually the year that we're going to start going through the renewal application process to get our charter renewed. So before the state is going to allow us to expand our grades to 6th, 7th, and 8th, they want to obviously evaluate to make sure we're doing a good job. We're honoring the promises that we've made in our charter to our students and families and to the community. And so through that evaluation process, we will petition the state to allow us to expand to 6th, 7th, and 8th, so that eventually we'll be a K through 8 school. And just to go back to your question on the outdoor spaces, this is something very near and dear to my heart and important. We do have those kindergarten play yard that's directly accessed through the kindergarten classrooms because play is important really for all elementary, but particularly the little ones. And then the recess yard on the 5th floor, which is kind of our primary outdoor space, will provide enough space for classes to have recess at the building. Truthfully, that was one of the trade-offs we had to think about, was the size of the gym versus the size of the play yard. And initially I wanted a bigger play yard and a smaller gym. But when you think about all seasons here in New York City, it's nice to have the full size gym because then kiddos can do indoor recess up there when the weather's bad. So we ultimately ended up deciding on that distribution for kind of the outdoor space.
So are you going to have it on the roof only?
The main recess play yard is on the roof, on the 5th floor, technically, but it's outdoors, and then the gym, it takes up the half of the 5th.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I believe you were next.
Yeah, Nick, go ahead.
Sure. So I have a couple of questions. Can you guys please elaborate why you believe it's appropriate to locate a school in an IBZ?
Yeah, I'm going to start just from the legal background. So locating schools in M districts, probably over the last 3 to 5 years at the BSA, is increasingly common. We're about at least maybe half the applications.
I didn't ask if it was increasingly common. I asked whether you deemed it appropriate.
Sure, Nick, if you just want to let me finish, that would be great. Thank you. So the idea is that there's a special permit that's available from the BSA, which basically allows for these types of schools in M districts to be located 400 feet from a residential district. So when we first approached the board, by that I mean the zoning board, this property, but for about 90 feet, is located about 90 feet too far for us to use a special permit. So the idea here is that despite the fact that we're located just 90 feet outside of the special permit area, there's an environmental, including environmental contaminants, traffic, student safety, all of that is reviewed prior to BSA considering the application. So the fact that not only was that reviewed and we've got consultants on the call who are able to address that, but more importantly, someone in the chat mentioned, could Carrie talk a little bit about some of the sites she's looked at? And, this is not a casual request. There's about over, I'd say 20 sites, we can list them off, that are included in the application over the course of years that Carrie has looked at. So unfortunately, we're in this position now where if we want to educate these kids in a physical plant that allows them some decent space with decent accommodations, it becomes more, becomes a more of a pressing issue to be able to do it in a building which happens to have an M designation. The additional thing is that the fact that there's more than 20 residential homes backing this portion of the street really makes this block primarily residential and in this case community facility. So, it would be particularly useful and appropriate to have it backing on these residential properties.
So while I appreciate the legal ease which you've just bestowed upon us, I highly disagree.
Straight up English, not
whatever
legal.
you'd like to say, Richard, but I would consider you heed what we're about to say here.
Of course.
So there were quite a few things that we found particularly disingenuous in which you were discussing and why, you feel like it doesn't even merit its discussion to the community board. You're asking for basically a change in use. So that should come to the community board, specifically in an industrial area. And there are a number of both life safety along with pollution hazards in that area, which have been discussed at length during numerous community board meetings, along with many, many residents. So I would encourage you to really look at a traffic study. I would encourage you to look at the number of deaths that have happened on 3rd Avenue and crossing 3rd Avenue. I would encourage you to go look at the amount of pollution coming off the BQE and all of those items, especially when locating a school there.
Richard,
None of which this is.
Nick, I don't want to cut you off, which I've done, but all of this is done, and I'm happy to discuss the extensive scope of environmental review on this site. So as a variance, this is required to have an environmental assessment prepared. We are currently performing in-field traffic studies. We've also reviewed the accidents. We have also done an air toxics analysis throughout this area, including mobile source assessment related to the Gowanus. We have also, our firm is a remediation firm as well, and we are going to be remediating the site as is required with DEP. So if any one of these flags required by seeker falls, the project will be subject to environmental impact.
So let me ask you a quick question. Then what is the filtration going into your air handling units then?
I'm sorry, say this again.
What is the filtration going into the air handling units that is going to be supplying outside air to these spaces?
What do you mean the filtration?
I don't know what you mean by that.
First of all, Nick, you're assuming the air quality is bad here. So we've done both ambient.
Assuming? Have you seen the city reports that have come out?
Well,
so
I can
listen, I can't have a conversation with you about this. We provided environmental assessment for your review. We have done.
Kevin, here's what I can tell you.
I'm sorry, can I finish my comment?
No, you cannot, because you need to hear this, because you're not understanding this fundamental.
I think somebody should ask Nick to please have some candor here.
All right, I'll tone it down. I apologize, but I want to make sure that everyone understands really what you're dealing with here. You're talking about basically locating a school in this location. You're telling me that the air quality is not bad, even though I have reports from the city showing that the air quality is bad.
I did not say that. You're mischaracterizing the statement. You also have 40 residents living directly adjacent to this site and have been there for over 100 years. So I hear what you're saying, Nick. I did not say the air is perfect in this location.
So again, I come back and ask you, what is the filtration you're putting into your air handling units?
Nick, can I answer your question? So,
Yes.
so we're the architects for the project, and I can tell you this isn't the first charter school we've done in a manufacturing district. In fact, most charter schools end up in that position for a very good reason, which Richard explained. But I can tell you, as the architects on the project, we are mandated by the BSA process, and the BSA process includes traffic studies, it includes air quality, it includes sound. And I could tell you at the end of that, the DOT the DEP all weigh in, and there's going to be requirements for that building that we are mandated to put in the building. For instance, the OIT.
Stephen, you're not addressing his question, right? The easiest way, Mr. Azadian, to respond to your question is we'll do air quality sampling at the site, live monitoring with a SUMA canister. If there are constituent elements in the air quality that are dangerous over long-term or short-term exposure, we will design a mitigation system. If that mitigation system cannot be designed for air quality intake, the school will not move forward. It's that simple.
All right, Kevin, this is John Fontillas. Kevin, can you just identify yourself for the record, please?
Kevin Williams, I'm Managing Director of Equity Environmental. I'm an urban environmental planner on this project.
Great, thank you.
I yield. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Nick. We're going to go to
Walsh.
Katie,
Catherine.
and then to Julio, and then Natasha. Katie?
Great, thank you. Carrie, it sounds like you yourself have a little one as well, right? Okay, and are you raising them here in Sunset Park?
Yes, actually, we actually just moved. We're going to be moving to 43rd Street. So because he's planning on sending him to my school. Hopefully.
Okay. So I'm born and raised in Sunset Park, here on 54th and 4th, and I went to the schools here. And we friends, people who go to schools, we have asthma. This community is heavily burdened with asthma and air quality. We also have a raging problem where we have 3rd Avenue as a corridor is a death highway. And unbeknownst to a lot of the folks here, probably, if we have a supercharged fast rise of last mile trucking facilities that are being located all over the nearby district and CB7. I've pledged my career to do everything to make sure that we don't continue to do what we've done in this and what this community has ended up experiencing, which is that we are putting kids' lives at risk. And the risk of this charter school at this location, given the deteriorating state of the BQE, where nothing is being done by the state, 3rd Avenue, where nothing is being done by the city or the state to actually look at it, trucking, where nothing is being done by the city or the state. Okay. We have a failure of leadership at every single level, and that's not changing. And I understand and appreciate that your school, whether it's public or private, wants to grow, but this is the wrong location. And it would be a failure of leadership by CB7 to send a signal that we are okay to put Black and brown kids' lives at risk by being allowed to put this to have the school located with everything that we know. It is wildly irresponsible, and it's irresponsible of the project developers and everybody who is here to think that this would be an okay thing to do, because we don't live in just this bubble of this one school. This is an ecosystem. And unless you get elected leadership to step up and make transformation changes, we're just replicating harms. So I'm extremely concerned about this project, and I know I'm not alone. And that's what you heard in the passion in Nick Azadian, is we care deeply about the future of this district. And I understand we need to work on this for the schools. And, we've all been focused so hard at CB7 and trying to figure out how to increase schools, but this is not the way to do it.
May I address that comment, because it goes to both Mr. Azadian and Mrs. Walsh's comment. So if we were to simply locate this on the other side of the Gowanus, where there are innumerable schools allowed as of right, is that not the right area to locate schools? Is Sunset Park not the right area to locate schools? Because this area has an unmet demand for schools that's not being met by the 2025 budget from New York City Construction Authority of over 1,200 units, 1,200 seats. And so the issue I have a problem with is if this isn't the proper location, merely 400 feet from the residential district on the opposite side of the Gowanus, where you could locate a school, we would not even have to go to the community board. This is the concern I have, because the air quality issues, the traffic issues there are zero difference on either side of the roadway present here. So, the statements that you're making is Sunset Park is too dangerous to locate schools, despite the fact that there are over 15 schools located within 1/2 of a mile of our site, including the current location, which is less than 1/2 a mile from this location. And so my concern here is that, yes, and I understand, Ms. Walsh, that you're running for state legislature, that one of the major.
No, but I'm not.
you know,
That I'm not running for state legislature.
Look, let me just interrupt
John,
here
I just
because-
I just was personified in a certain way of something I said. So in
No,
front of us today.
I'm sorry if I apologize.
No. So Kevin, so in front of us today, there is a request by the school to use this facility. What I am saying is this location for this facility is problematic for all of these reasons, and we are desperately trying to deal with we meaning collective, right? Like, are trying to deal with the air quality, or trying to deal with last mile, trying to deal with trucking, trying to deal with this. This is like every single conversation you come to this community. We're desperately looking for elected leadership to take action. So if you're coming for this specific project, for this specific ask, that is the flag that I am saying that this is a problem. That's what I'm referring to.
I completely empathize with the broader concerns.
Can I jump in here, John? Can I jump in here? I'm going to make a suggestion to the guests who are coming here before us to request this. Unless you're asked a question, you should respond to the question. When we're making our comments, that's not an invitation for crosstalk. It's just a comment that we're making. So what I would suggest is that you answer questions that are directly asked, and when board members make comments, that's not an opportunity to get into a cross.
Understood. I apologize.
All right, thanks, Cesar. I do want to point out that we do have quite a few questions coming up. So we're going to go back to Julio, then Natasha, then Hector. Julio?
Thank you, John. First, thank you for the presentation. And I feel like Catherine stole a lot of what I was actually going to say. And I feel like, Third Avenue, we can talk ad nauseum about, the concerns about Third Avenue. And it was just, it feels not that long ago, but it was actually probably about 18 months ago that, the Department of Education wanted to locate a school or an annex between 3rd and 4th Avenue, between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. And we had a lot of concerns about that location as well, right? And for a lot of the similar reasons, the safety along 3rd Avenue, the health along the Gowanus Expressway, and locating a school there, and having students cross 3rd Avenue, and the health concerns, right? This community has had a long history of racially unjust policies. Particularly the placing of the Gowanus Expressway that we had no control over from the 1930s, and where our schools have been built, and a lot of it because many of the folks that are sitting here were not at the table, right? And now that we are, and now that we're vocalizing a lot of these concerns, let me be quite clear, like, charter school students are public school students, and I recognize that. I recognize that these students deserve an education, but I also recognize that they deserve a school that is safe, that is free from health environments, and deserve a location that is that's not located in an area that has that is not doesn't have all of these concerns that we're raising. So that's just something I wanted to state. But so some of the other questions that I had were I know Joan asked about the accessibility, but I guess I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper in terms of what kind of accessibility accommodations are being made in the building at large, in terms of tactile and or is there anything specific? Is it just, are we talking about mobility? But I'm curious about visual and other accessibility accommodations. I'm gonna just throw out all my questions at once. Will there be any green space on the roof and or gardens? I had another question and I don't think I wrote it down. Oh, And what is the Board of Trustees composition for Brooklyn Rise? And if there are any Sunset Park residents on it?
Stephen Grasso, do you want to take the accessibility accommodations in green space? Stephen, you're on mute, I believe.
Yes, sure. So the building, it will certainly be accessible, handicap accessible. That's not just wheelchairs, that's anyone who's handicapped. So, you know, railings and all the typical code stuff that one has to abide by in any building in New York City that goes up. So it'll be completely handicap accessible. When you say tactile, you know, the signage will have those kinds of things. So it'll be fully, you know, fully up to code with those things. Do we go beyond code? Not really, but I think the code is pretty comprehensive when it comes to certainly the basics and maybe a little bit more. You know, there's an elevator, which will be a new elevator to accommodate the accessibility to each floor for someone who is in a wheelchair or any handicap. Yeah, so I think one of the most exciting things about this project is just the repositioning of a pretty mundane building into something that would be, I think, an exciting school. So, but all those accommodations, all the accessibility will be that of, you know, the standards of the 2014 New York City Building Code.
And green space and gardens?
So the roof, as we talked about, will have that open space. We do have located on the ground floor off the kindergarten classrooms, actual playground areas, which will be very accessible to the younger kids. That's very important. And you know, well, the gymnasium's enclosed, but you know, the whole idea of recreation, which is one of the reasons why we're asking for this variance, and putting a gym that works for a middle school is very important for recreation, for activity, for workout, for children in schools. So that the gym, as you know, is a huge aspect, but I know that's not outdoor, but it is a very important component of, you know, kids and fitness and all that good stuff.
Great, thank you, Stephen. And Carrie, do you want to just address the Board of Trustee composition?
Sure. And just quickly wanted to add, though, we didn't, you know, obviously we haven't gotten to the point of finishes of the building yet because we're very far from that. But I just want you to know, Julio, we also do consider things like the color of paint. Like we have students on the autism spectrum. So even like thinking about what types of lights you use matter for that sort of like educational experience for students with diverse learning needs. So we do like those types of things additionally that are kind of beyond the scope of the architecture, but more the finishes. And then we will be having like flatbed raised bed gardens, you know, kind of an urban garden. We won't have like a true like garden yard area, unfortunately, but we'll have the raised bed gardens for our students. We do have a STEAM program. So our students currently do some growing as well. We just don't have as much space for it. And then in terms of the board, so we currently have 9 members. All their bios and pictures and everything should be updated on our website. Currently, we only have 1 board member who was born and raised in Sunset Park. Her name is Bianca Cabrera. And we do have a number of board members who are identify as first generation, college students, immigrant, they come from immigrant families, staff members who speak board members who speak Spanish, Mandarin. It was particularly important to us that our board, you know, we try to have it be reflective of the Sunset Park community as much as possible. We are always actively searching for more board members from the community. So if anyone is interested, always feel free to reach out and let me know. But that is a really good question. It's important to us as well to kind of continue to build that. Additionally, we do in our staff, we have 4 staff members who are born and raised in Sunset Park, and we're kind of continually trying to, you know, continue as Brooklyn Rise grows to really make sure that it is a school representative of the community that we serve. And just the last quick note, I know that wasn't, and I really want to respect the rules about this, but I would just say around safety, which I completely understand. Catherine's and everyone's concerns on that. It was my concerns too. This is why I brought it to my families. Bush Terminal Park is not far from where our forever home is hopefully going to be, and families have been crossing 3rd Avenue to get to Bush Terminal Park and to enjoy that park for many years. And we hope to be part of the advocacy that all of you are doing around the safety of 3rd Avenue and the trucking and all of that I know is particularly a hot issue right now. I know that obviously we can't solve, as Julio said, the location of the Gowanus and what that has perpetrated on the community. But the safety and the health of Brook and Rye students is, of the utmost importance to me and our families. And so that's why I really did closely consult families before we moved in this direction, and families were supportive. And there are residences located west of 3rd Avenue. There are families that we serve that currently live west of 3rd Avenue. So it's actually a convenient location for some of our families. So I just wanted to add that quick note, but now I'll stop because I know that wasn't the question.
Thank you, Carrie. I want to pick up Natasha. Hector, you put your hand down. You were going to be next after that. If not,
his audio isn't working properly. I believe Natasha is asking his question for him.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Natasha, and then Antoinette, you're next.
So on behalf of Hector Gonzalez, during the presentation, he said he noticed that there's no mention of a first aid station in the school. So his question is there going to be a first aid station in the school on 44th Street? If someone could answer that question for Hector Gonzalez, CV7 board member.
I guess, Stephen, that would probably go to you.
Yeah, I assume you mean a nurse's office.
Nurse first aid station, yes.
Yes, we do have the nursing. We do have in the cellar. We have a nurse room.
Could you post that up on the screen?
Oh, wait, just a second. Oh, no, it's on the first floor.
I was going to say.
And would you be able to share the screen again with the first floor plan? Yes. So the nurse room is right here, located right next to the main lobby.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Antoinette?
Antoinette, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I have two questions. The first is for the school, if you could just share how many of your current students are Sunset Park residents?
That is a great question, and I should know that number off the top of my head. It gets a little complicated because we do it more by like some of our students live just over the D15 or the CSD 15 boundary. So they live kind of in what is not in District 15, which is our community school district. So we more think of it as what CSD 15. So I don't want to give you a number that's not accurate. I know it's extremely high. I'm happy to actually, while we're here, I can look that up really quickly and maybe put the answer into the Q&A if that's okay. I just don't want to make up a number.
Sure. And if you can provide the raw number and also the percentage, just so we can contextualize that number.
Absolutely.
Thank
I'll
you.
do that right now.
Thanks, appreciate it. And then my second question is for the board. And I'm just curious to know, and I'm sorry because I didn't know that this school was at a temporary location right now. So I was just curious to know if there are other schools in the district who are currently in a temporary location and searching for a forever home. Like the presenter had mentioned, because it feels like after the approval for the school on 58th Street and 3rd was approved, there's sort of these floodgates that are opening up for schools that are searching for building space west of 3rd Avenue.
John, if you don't mind, I'll take that.
Sure, go ahead, Jeremy.
So Antoinette, the only one I'm currently aware of right now is Prospect Charter School. which is looking for space. They have 2 locations currently in our district. They have, they have one permanent space, which is their high school space on Fort Hamilton Parkway. They currently have one being built on 17th Street between 3rd and 4th Avenues. That is their middle school space, and they are will be looking to come to us, I believe, in the autumn with their elementary school space.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. And are they working with anyone from the community board on looking for a location?
No, they are not.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Jeremy, just as a note of reference, how many charters are operating within the borders of CB7? Do we know?
I don't have that offhand. I don't have that.
Okay. Julio, are you on? Do you have any idea?
I don't want to guess, but my thinking is 3.
Julio, I think you are correct. 3. It's Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Of which Brooklyn Rise is one?
Correct.
Right. And Jeremy, the one that's on top of Chase Bank on 54th, is that not also temporary space?
Yes, they're actually hoping to take over our space after we leave. They need they don't need as much additional space as we do. So they're planning on doing like a split site, which we were hoping to avoid. We wanted to have our school all in one space, but they're actually hoping to take this space as some additional room for their school.
Javier pointed out that Brooklyn Hellenic on 18th Street is also in the district.
Right, and so is Bugs. There are 5 in the district.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach.
I just wanted to quickly answer Antoinette's question on numbers. So 102 of our students currently reside in the 11220 and 11223 zip codes, which makes up 70% of our student body.
Great.
Okay, and sorry, what's the denominator for that? 70%? Out of how many total students?
Sorry, currently
enrolled?
we have 145 students, and then we add 52 each year.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Carrie. Antoinette, anything else on that? Any follow-up? Not hearing any. Kevin, I assume the hand up is from earlier, or did you have a comment you want to add?
Hi, John. Yeah, I just wanted to, in addition to the accessibility issue, I just wanted to note some of the project improvements that are related to traffic, if I may.
If you could speak a little louder, you're fading out a little bit. Can you get closer to the mic?
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
So I just wanted to mention some of the project improvements related to crossing 3rd and also ADA accessibility. So as a part of the project, the applicant is going to supply modern tactile ADA compliant ramps at both the intersection with 2nd, 3rd, on both the East Riverside and the upland portion across from 3rd. And then we're also adding high visibility crosswalks on both legs. So, I mean, one of the concerns was about accidents and traffic. And as of course, as a part of the project, we had to analyze traffic accidents that have happened over the last 5 years at this and close by intersections. And so, but of course that's done in sort of city environmental quality review parlance, which doesn't necessarily address the commonplace concerns of folks who know this area. But there haven't been any fatalities in the last 5 years or, in the recorded period that we've looked at. But one of the things, given the volumes of students and the condition of the crosswalks and the condition of the underpass, with what are old sort of brick pavers in certain portions, that entire interface would be improved. So that would not only help the school help to steward children across that 3rd Avenue, but it would also enhance the cross connection to the retail corridor that's present on 3rd Avenue in this area. So just a part of the project. It wasn't asked by DOT. It hasn't been asked yet. This is part of what we're doing. We're also have a crossing guard located on both sides of the Gowanus and at 2nd. So there are several measures. We're not just doing this blindly. We are trying to improve the context and the access and to enhance the ADA accessibility to the site.
Kevin, in terms of or Carrie, do you have many people, kids being dropped off by private vehicle or bus, or what is the condition of the drop off directly in front of your building? Will you be asking for no parking or a school zone?
Yeah, we probably, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kim.
No, Carrie, please.
Yeah, we will definitely do like a no drop off school zone for buses and cars. We currently have most of our students walk or take public transit, but we do have, bus students, particularly for morning, less so for evening, because a lot of our families do aftercare. So they do we don't offer busing for aftercare. So families will pick up between 5:30 and 6 from our after school program. But mostly we do, obviously we're small now, so, we don't have very many car drop-offs, but that could increase. So it is something that I know that Kevin is in his group is kind of doing really research around impact. We currently don't have a staggered arrival and dismissal, but as we grow, we plan to stagger our arrival and dismissal so that not all of our students are coming and going at the same time, which is not only helps to alleviate some of the traffic conditions, but is also just safer for kids. It helps us kind of focus on smaller groups of students at a time.
And John, also to that point, so as part of the traffic analysis, we had to model the mode split, the number of pedestrians coming, the types of cars coming, and so we model it both on schools and other locations surveyed, and we also surveyed Carrie's current student body, and that's part of the traffic analysis. And we have a 140-foot school no standing zone planned in front of the school, but it's also important to note that the applicant owns the large office maps the end of 44th and 2nd Avenue, and that's being converted to primarily office commercial. I believe a recording studio is going in there. So multiple curb cuts that are currently present on that edge of pavement are also being closed. And so in general, also, I'd like to say if somebody looks carefully at actually this 44th Street corridor, all of the manufacturing uses that are present, which are not really that many, are all benign. There's nothing with emissions on this street, and there's not a lot of this actual segment of the street is actually very lightly trafficked compared to a lot of the other corridors in this area. But all of that is subject to DOT review, of course, to assure that we don't result in an impact.
One note that you might not pick up is that we do have a large number of 55-foot tractor trailers from across the region the drivers parking and sleeping in that area. And unfortunately, some of the west of 2nd in particular, next to the large warehouse building, you do see a line of tractor trailers that are there for the night. So just might be something to note as you go through the process of God forbid that traffic picking up, especially since since we don't have a truck traffic study. We've asked for DOT to do that for us for a long time, but we are noticing it anecdotally happening a lot in the district. Let me pick up again, Katie, and then after Katie, I'm going to move to community members. So Katie, want to do your last question here?
Yeah, I just wanted to note two things. Kevin, I didn't appreciate you saying something about me running for state assembly. I thought that was really wildly inappropriate and sort of the personal going after personal individuals on the board. So I just wanted to note that I don't think that was appropriate. But the second thing is just to say that what you were hearing is there's a failure, right? The DOT, we don't have the traffic study. There's the, of course, environmental reviews and looking at that in terms of actually, we understand what's happening in the district, and we care deeply about the community and the people, and that is our focus. And so it's a failure of leadership, again, from these agencies and electeds, where these things need to change. And so that is why we have the stewardship and the role here. There was a question in there, and the question is, with the number of charter schools, we're sort of, in this CB7 meeting brainstorming, who decides the number of charter schools? Who's making that? This is educational for me. Who, Jeremy or, John, who's the decision maker around these charter school allocations? Yeah, the state legislature, but like any sort of decision in terms of the, sorry, I'll be more specific. Carrie, you want to grow. So did you say that you already have the approval to grow to 8th grade?
No, so we did. So as part of the process of being chartered by the state, we did have to come before CB7 and present our school, as well as we had a public hearing that Jeremy was kind enough to let us use the CB7 space to have our public hearing at, so the public could come and offer comment. And then once we were chartered, we were given a K-5 charter, and then we have to be reevaluated and renewed. So that's why 2023 will be our renewal period. And it will be at that time that we will petition the state to allow us to expand to be a K-8. And if they deem that, we're doing a good job with K-5, they will potentially at that point, given that families have asked for us to grow K-8, that they would potentially grant that. And then at that point, we would have a K-8 charter that would still be subject to 5-year renewal periods, sometimes shorter. So if charter schools are not doing well, they're granted shorter renewal periods because they're kind of on like a watch. And the last thing that I would say is there are no more charters left to give in New York City. There's a cap and it's been met. So there are no more charters to give, although I think that there's something in front of the state legislature currently around that. The only charters that can open in New York are now outside of the city.
Does your current size, so you want to grow and then you'd have to get approval to go to 8, but do you fit the size for what you currently are? That's the thing I'm trying to understand.
I see what you're saying. Sorry. Yeah, no. So we're going to keep, right now our model is 2 classrooms at each grade level, 26 kids in each class. So that's 52 kids a grade. We're planning on keeping that exact same model. So we're not planning on bringing in more kids. We're planning on, because our entire proposal to the state was like, we're a small school, smaller class sizes, small group instruction. And so we're planning on keeping that even with the middle school expansion.
My understanding is that there are only about 260 charters in the state or in the city, and only 90 or so are in Brooklyn. Is that correct?
That's right.
But do you need this space to fit your current students, or are you trying to get the space to accommodate the growth that you need?
I'm sorry. I feel like I keep saying I'm understanding it and then I'm not. The space, so the lease that we've signed for this space, we can fit K through 5. Not currently, the space we have now is only 10,000 square feet. We would have to leave this space to be a K through 5 school. We have to find more space. We were looking for space that could accommodate the possibility of becoming K-8. So that's like another tricky part of the situation, because building owners don't necessarily want to know about like the possibility of using space. They want to know, are you actually going to use the space? So this space is the right size such that it can house us K-5, but also actually houses, it would be arguably too much space K-5 by a little bit of a margin, but K-8 we can fit. So that was another reason why this site in particular was attractive to us, because it allowed us the space for the K-8 expansion. But we need more space regardless.
John, I'm sorry. Can I just say one really quick thing to Catherine?
Very quick, Kevin.
I'm so sorry. So Catherine, I did not bring that up. There's another person with the exact name, and all I was going to say is their platform has air quality safety issues, and they're from the same CV.
No, Kevin, I ran for state assembly a year ago, but my point is the election is a year ago. It's just inappropriate to
empathize.
Go, okay, but just to go after community board members.
I wasn't going after. I was just trying to say I recognize your concerns because I'm familiar with the candidacy, and I really did not mean to besmirch you. I do deeply apologize. I do not want it prejudicing, your decisions here. So I happen to be familiar with your candidacy from a year ago, and I apologize. So.
Okay, I'm going to move on if that's okay. Maria, still there? Maria Roca. Oh, I guess, yes.
I am unmuted. Yes, I am.
Hi,
yes,
Maria. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? How's everybody? Okay, so I have multiple questions, and I'm just going to put them out there and see how they hopefully get answered. One, the lot which this building is part of encompasses a number of buildings down to Second Avenue and around to 45th Street. How does the variance being proposed today for 222 44th Street affect the status, if any, of the rest of the lot? Meaning, if the variance is approved, does it apply to the entire lot? Number two, let me see. In his presentation earlier, Richard, I'm sorry for the familiarity, Richard. I didn't catch your last name. I hopped on a little late.
Lobel.
Say that again?
Lobel.
Lobel. Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Lobel mentioned that a much bigger building than is being proposed could be built as of right if the two areas that were highlighted before were not needed for a school. So, assuming for a moment that the variances you're requesting are granted for 222 to build a school, will you then be able to fully build to the max as of right FAR for this building, as well as for the entire lot?
Excellent
Number
questions.
Three. Wait, number three. I don't know who's going to answer them. And okay, so let me see number three. Will the nurse be a full-time nurse 5 days a week from opening of the school day and including after school? And if not, what will it be? I think that's for now. That's three questions.
All right, Carrie, do you want to take the nurse first?
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the easiest answer for me anyway. So yes, we have a full-time. We're actually charter schools, as public schools, have access to the Department of Health, the Department of Education's nurses. So we actually have a Department of Education nurse who's full-time on site for all the hours that kiddos are here. Though, Maria, your point is a good one. Not currently for after school. So they're only here for the regular school operating hours. And then the after school program that we contract with is responsible for kind of the health and safety of students during the after school hours. And I imagine that will stay the same for when we move, but it's a good point around wondering if maybe it's helpful to have a nurse for after school hours as well. But that's currently how it works.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Carrie. And then I guess back to you, Richard, about the first about the lot, and then the limits of the lot, and then how does the rezone, the variance affect the rest of the lot?
Sure. Amanda, can you just throw up the area map? So you'll see an area highlighted in bold, and that is 222 44th Street. When we go to BSA, the discussion of BSA is around only that lot. So that lot is currently roughly 140 by 100 feet, is a 14,000 square foot lot. No other properties are affected by the grant of the variance. So that's the first, I believe, the answer to the first question. With regards to the second question, and Amanda was kind enough to circle it with a red circle. In answer to the second question, which is a great question, Maria. So once you go into BSA and you request the waivers necessary to build the school with that small area in yellow and green at the front and back, that is the building you get to build. You would not be able to build a 67,000 square foot building anymore. You would be limited to a school of that square footage with those waivers at that site. BSA actually, so we've sometimes been before the community board for rezonings. That's not this. When you rezone a property at city planning, you get a new zoning district, and whatever you want to build, you can go build as of right. When you go to BSA for a variance, you go in with plans that are stamped and signed by the BSA, and that is all that you get to build. So it is a great point, because while someone could put up 67,000 square feet here of potentially more intensive uses, this school is basically only using 47,000 square feet, and it may only be used for a school.
Can you still hear me? Am I still on?
Yeah, go ahead, Maria.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so did I understand then correctly that beyond the strict language of the request, let me rephrase that. What is the second step if if the school, if your client then wanted to up the ante to 67,000 square feet? Would they have to go back to the BSA, or does this require the City Planning Commission interference or involvement? That might be a better word.
They would have to go back to the BSA. Any enlargement or alteration of that building, the exact building that's approved by the community board and then the BSA, any square footage, any addition or alteration of that building would need to go back to BSA. One of the great things about being a school is that you can rely on the needs of the school for your variance. One of the challenging things is that once you establish those needs, you can't change them unless you go back and file an entirely new application.
Okay, so then we can be assured, and that I'm assuming that would be written in the documents, that whatever variances might be approved would only affect the square, what do you call it, the school, and that in no way, at no time, can any of those variances be applied to the remaining of the lot unless the owner goes in front of the BSA or in front of whomever to then make changes there, because the owner of that lot has in the last few years been trying all kinds of approaches to his property to, of course, as any owner would, maximize the ROI of his property, and uses that in no way have anything to do with the school, because they have to do with artist housing or maybe loft housing and work and living and all of that. So and that would be in writing in the variances, the strict nature of the variance, correct? You can commit to that right now.
100%.
We're not gonna have to go and fight anybody on this.
Not at all. It's going to be, there will be stamped plans. There will be resolutions associated with those plans that dictate the exact nature of the variance. That is 100% accurate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Maria. And then last but not least, I believe it's Javier Salamanca. Is that you, Javier?
Yes. Hi, how are you? Thank you for the opportunity. Okay. So thank you for the information. Just in general, so just a couple of things. So from the time that this application was submitted originally for the school, so just that the schools in our area are not overcrowded anymore. There's actually a couple of sites in the area, in the vicinity, there are public schools, including, you guys know, right there on 43rd and 4th, that old castle. There's on 36th Street and 5th Avenue. So all to say that there's a preponderance, there's all of a sudden, there's a flush of elementary schools coming, or available spaces available for elementary schools. I agree with someone else's other comment about now that there was the approval of one school crossing 5th Avenue, crossing 3rd Avenue, there's not another rush to grow there. And while I understand that some of the blocks are residential, more residential in nature, like it's a blanket statement to talk about every block going towards 3rd, past 3rd as being manufacturing. One of the issues with Bush Terminal is the fact that there isn't a lot of access, even though there's a green path. It is a very commercial, manufacturing, industrial construction area, right? With cement trucks, with garbage trucks, all that coming through of various natures. So just, it's not family friendly in the least. We've always had this discussion about the contamination that comes from the Gowanus Expressway. I know there's this question about the filtration. I don't think this body ever had an answer from even the School Construction Authority about the school on 58th and 3rd, what they're doing in regards to that, right? So I don't know if that ever documentation was ever provided as to what And also we haven't seen, because of the pandemic and remote learning and all that, we haven't seen what the results are of the traffic signage and all those things in that area of 58th and 3rd in terms of like comparing, like, was it effective? What happens when we have, a high concentration of parents, children, strollers crossing 6 avenues through 3rd Avenue, crossing 4th Avenue, then crossing 3rd Avenue to get to a location. So overall, right, that this is worrisome on all those fronts. And also I've stated in the chat just that we've had this issue, I mean, with the School Construction Authority, with the DOE, about listing sites that have been looked at, because there is that office building on 39th between 3rd and 4th, that Prospect
Javier.
5th and 8th Avenue. So there are sites that are available east of 3rd Avenue that have not been explored. So it always, we always hear that there's the scarcity and that. So for me, it's very hard to believe that without any reports, any facts, lists of locations, the reasons why they were rejected. And we never really get a clear idea of that. And just overall, I know in 2018, 2019, as we had the application of so many schools when that charter cap was coming, just that the charter schools do at the end of the day draw funds from public school education, just to be clear about that. I understand what is always being offered. I think a lot of schools offer everything when it's an abstract. We're not sure if they actually deliver. So I think it's part of the due diligence of this body to really look at all these charter school presentations and really compare if they deliver on all those issues, as it would be, the right thing to do for the community to actually have a fact finding of all the things that are promised and what is actually delivered. And this goes across the board, when we have big box corporations and all that promise so many things, but there's never really any receipts checked. So just want to put that out there for this body. Voces Ciudadanas is an organization that did a lot of advocacy about the overcrowding schools that were happening. Really wants to take a stand for public education, especially now, the pandemic. So many kids are behind, and about focusing our public funds on public schools, on local community-minded public schools that have oversight from our publicly elected officials, from our publicly elected bodies, from our taxpayer bodies, right? So just want to put all those issues out there. And also, this is an industrial zone, so I really see Community Board 7 to really get some consistency, right? If this is a green zone, if this is an industrial zone, and that's the future, and that's what's zoned for this, and this is that big plan that's has multiple meetings about, and there's a whole document about it, how do we kind of square a school in a green zone, in an industrial zone, in a manufacturing zone? How does that, I know each site is specific, but if the future is to concentrate a lot of industry in this area west of 3rd, how do we square away variances, rezonings, and et cetera, with this vision? Like, are we really going for it, or is there something else going on?
Great, thank you so much, Javier.
2 people also sent us emails wanting to testify.
Sure, are they on the line?
They're here, yes. So I have Ting Ting Fu next. Nope. Ting Ting, you can unmute yourself.
Hi. Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So, hi, my name is Ting Ting Fu, and I'm the lead organizer at Uprose. Founded in 1966, Uprose is Brooklyn's oldest Latino community-based organization. We're an intergenerational, multiracial, nationally recognized, women of color-led grassroots org that works at the intersection of racial justice and climate change.
I'm sorry, Ting Ting, can you speak up a bit? You're very faint.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
A little bit closer to the mic might be, or just enunciate a little bit louder, please.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, that's better. Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, today I'm here to testify strongly against the variance application to transform 22 to 44th Street into a charter school. On behalf of Uprose, and as a mother of 3 children, we are submitting this testimony with our children's interests at heart. Sunset Park is a frontline community of over 130,000 already overrun with polluting infrastructure, including 3 peaker power plants, 2 solid waste transfer stations, brownfields, the Gowanus Expressway, thousands of diesel trucks, and a cement plant, to name a few. These polluting infrastructures live on our industrial waterfront and are close to where the charter school is being proposed. Our children's lungs should not be sacrifice zones. We should all agree that toxic exposure to children is unacceptable. Citing schools in the industrial sector not only puts our children at stake at health, it's an inappropriate use in preserving the industrial character of New York City's largest industrial waterfront. The lives of our children should not be sacrificed for a charter school. When doing on-the-ground research as part of Grassroots Research to Action in Sunset Park, partnered with National Institute of Health, our team of scientists found 4 principal polluting components. Lead, and lead components is a neurotoxic, and young children are at particular risk for exposure and directly associated with significant declines in children's IQ. Naphthalene exposure in children has been associated with cancer. Phtalates exposure in children has been linked to lower IQ, poor social communication development, decreased motor skills, and aggression. Ethylene glycol can also be central nervous system depression and more. This proposed charter school is half a block away from the BQE, where over 200,000 cars and 25,000 trucks go through daily, spewing PM 2.5, a particulate that travels deep into the respiratory tract, reaching the lungs. We cannot build schools in locations that jeopardize our children's health and well-being. There are multiple development proposals in Sunset Park, such as waste handling and e-commerce, that would bring more polluting diesel trucks to the community. We cannot allow private developers to continuously come into Sunset Park to dictate the community's priorities. By placing the school in an area that's particularly vulnerable to storm surges, you risk delaying access to education and resources after a storm event. We recognize the need to create adequate classroom sizes in Sunset Park, but we must not build schools at the expense of our children's health and well-being. Right now, there's a total of 1,030 new seats for elementary school students. 4302 4th Ave is bringing in 330 seats for pre-K through 5th grade. 836 to 841 5th Ave will be offering 400 seats, and 4513 8th Ave will bring another 300 seats. We must keep pushing DOE to keep looking for appropriate properties that are upland, away from toxic pollutants, and keep our children safe. We really want to urge the community board and the Sunset Park community to support more comprehensive and intentional land use development. We need more schools, but not the expense of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ting Ting. Jeremy, you have one other person?
Yes, I also have Brady, is it pronounced Michelle? Oh, sorry, Brady, you can unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself, Brady.
Can you hear me okay now?
We can hear you.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. So my name is Brady Mikesell from the Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Development Corporation. And SBIDC is a local economic development corporation whose mission is to provide advocacy and services to help businesses in Southwest Brooklyn to grow and create employment opportunities for local residents. On behalf of SBIDC and the more than 1,500 businesses that we serve in Sunset Park, Gowanus, and Red Hook, we strongly urge the community board to reject the proposed charter school relocation to 44th Street and to find a new location outside of the industrial business zone instead. And while we recognize the community's dire need for more schools, moving forward with this location will put students' safety and quality of life at risk and undermine the protections created under the industrial business zone program. The proposed school site is located within a growing industrial community, including businesses that specialize in machining, wholesale, and transportation, and provide family supporting jobs to residents of the local community. The industrial sector's employment base is 80% people of color and 50% foreign-born. These demographics highlight the importance of this sector in Sunset Park. These businesses already face challenging logistical issues, especially limited loading and unloading space and parking for clients and staff. Parking congestion from required teacher accessibility would present even more challenges. Allowing a school in an M12 zoned lot disrupts the day-to-day activities of the existing businesses in the area and inhibits the potential for further growth of the industrial community. Furthermore, trucking within a 1 mile radius of this proposed site is a prime transportation mode for existing industrial businesses and is essential to business operations. The addition of school and pedestrian traffic to this area will cause unsafe traffic conditions, as we heard a lot of folks concerned about already today, and liability concerns for the industrial businesses that could force them to leave the neighborhood. This additional foot traffic in combination with the existing industrial activity increases the likelihood of pedestrian accidents, particularly for parents and students who are differently abled. Crossing 3rd Avenue and 44th Street can be particularly dangerous. Lastly, the community board and the BSA should take into account the noise and air quality conditions of this area that would negatively affect children who already live in a community with high rates of asthma. Again, SBIDC recognizes the immediate need to grow the number of schools in Sunset Park. However, we urge the community board, the BSA, and Brooklyn Rise Charter to find a more suitable and safe location. Thank you.
I've reached the end of my list, John.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we're coming up already on hour and 50 minutes. So why don't we do this? Because the vote's not imminent, I think what we'll do is we will raise this at the board meeting this coming week and put it out there for discussion amongst the board. And then I guess Jeremy and Cesar, let's talk about maybe putting it on the agenda for a September vote. And the reason being is I do think one of the key issues here, with all due respect, Carrie and Richard, is that I think you've heard very clearly from the land use committee members that the siting issue is of utmost concern. And I think it might be helpful. I know in the BSA application, you did have a list of the 20 sites you looked at. I would like to ask if you could look at that list and provide a little bit more color and commentary on each one of those sites, why they were rejected. You don't have to get into full details, but I think it'd be very helpful to understand the difficulties you've had in trying to find a site that might be, in our view, or the board's view, might be more appropriate for a school. Because I really do believe that that would be something that the board would need to take into account as they review the application. So unless Cesar, you have any other points here to pick up?
Well, no, I mean, I just want to reiterate something that I think is important to just kind of emphasize, just to kind of give you some perspective about what we're holding as a board. You know, the conversation about more charter schools, less charter schools, that's not this conversation, okay? That's a separate conversation. I'm sure there's lots of us who have opinions about that as well. The conversation that we're trying to have here is the appropriateness of the industrial the industrial zone, right? And, you know, I just want to make a couple of just comments that I hope you will reflect on. Number one, we are living in a post-COVID world. And I think COVID really laid bare a lot of the inequities that we have known for most of our lives, particularly people of color, right? I think, you know, that's something that I think needs to be acknowledged. And so I think there's certainly intentionality on my end and many of the board members around the idea that we cannot continue to have business as usual prior to COVID, right? COVID, if for all of the craziness and the hardship of COVID, it is I see it as an opportunity for a pivot point. And I think there's a lot of intentionality around making those pivots and really doing something that just wasn't available to us for whatever reason prior to COVID, and now it is. So that's one. Two, you know, telling us that there are homes in the backyard of this proposed site doesn't take away from the fact that, yeah, that's a problem, and that's an unfortunate situation, and telling us that doesn't take away the fact that there are, you know, health risks that we have been dealing with for decades and decades. So I just want to reiterate that, you know, we exist in a context where this community has been historically underserved, and I think there's real commitment and intentionality around addressing that condition of being underserved. So I would, you know, I would just echo what John just said. Give us an opportunity to like really dig into this
and talk about it among the board members, and then we'll take this up in September in terms of a vote.
I'm also happy to the extent that there's ever any more information you need from the school, you know, to just let me know. I do have like site search documentation and things of that nature just to present to the board for that. And now that we can have visitors, people are always welcome to come by Brooklyn Rise. And so, yeah, if there's anything in between now and September that's helpful from me, please let me know, because I'm happy to provide whatever's helpful that way.
I think, Kate, the unfortunate part here is that, since we have seen you for the past couple of years, and I know how these things come together very quickly, but you must know that Community Board 7 over the past several years has been having very deep conversations about the industrial zone, and whether or not it's hotels or commercial development, now schools, it is part and parcel, unfortunately, of the issues of land use in CB7. So in case there are any other charter schools that are on this call, just the idea that if they could engage very early on with the board, we could tell you very upfront our feelings about certain sites. I know you're far beyond that, but I think by giving us some background about the places that you have looked at and why they were taken off the list, I think it would be very helpful.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want, John, is to give the impression like I have been attending, and more so before we opened recently. And I, you know, west of Third, this is not my, you know, I'm like you said, I'm in a situation where I'm desperately trying to find a forever home, and I really have searched and searched and searched. And so, you know, you're to the point of like, you know, potentially engaging community board for support on that search earlier on. I think that point is definitely well taken, but I don't want it to seem like I wasn't aware that this site wasn't going to be, you know, a stamp of approval, because I do know how much this board has been really thoughtful in their advocacy and consideration of everything that's happening west of Third Ave. So I appreciate that. I do.
And I appreciate both you and your land use team attending, as well as your design team. I'm going to hold the meeting there. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We have our board meeting.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt. There was actually one more community member that wanted to speak. I'm not sure if you got the text message.
No. Oh. Okay, is Daniel Varela, is he still here?
He could unmute himself. Daniel, you could unmute yourself.
Yes, hello, I'm here. I just unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a resident of this block, and I'd say it's extremely dangerous to put a school there. I mean, you can't even park on the entire right side of the block because of truck loading only signs that are in effect from 7 a.m. to I think 6 or 7 p.m. on Monday through Friday. From my count, there's about I think 9 or 10 factories there and only 2 houses and 1 apartment building. And there's trucks pretty much parking perpendicular and blocking the traffic throughout the entire day to load and unload from not only 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but then they stay parked on that block for the next morning. And this occurs the entire week. So I just don't see how it'd be feasible to include a school there and add more traffic, foot and car traffic to that block when it's already disastrous. I'm in complete disagreement with putting a school there. There's got to be a better place than to do it on a block that's not residential and just factories only, and a place where you can't even drive up the block between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Not much more else to say than that.
All right, thank you, Daniel, for your testimony. All right, I'm going to close the hearing with that, and hope to talk to you all at the board meeting this coming week.
So we did have a land use committee scheduled after this, but since there isn't going to be a vote, are you still planning to meet as a committee?
No, we have no other, my understanding is we have no other business before the committee.
Okay, so then we will cancel that committee meeting for tonight. Okay.
John, we also just wanted to thank the entirety of the committee and the board for being here tonight. I think Carrie and I have gotten some, phenomenal comments and understand what we need to produce and demonstrate to the board, and the whole team will seek to do that over the coming weeks. We look forward to engaging and continuing that dialogue.
Great, thank you, Richard. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you at the next board meeting. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody.